All right, dude. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. It's funny how we met. 3D Fitness has like pretty much been at least half of my guests on here. So, if they ever want to sponsor this, let's go. But
Right.
thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah. Did we originally meet in the jail though? Like, were you on transports?
I think I might have seen you like here and there at the gym, and then I
saw you.
I
at
saw
work,
you
yeah.
at the jail, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I seen you a couple times. I was like, he looks familiar, and then I for sure seen you at the intake, and I was like, okay, what's up?
Well, 3D Fitness is such like a small community.
Yeah.
So like, especially if you go the same time every week, you kind of understand who they are. You may not know them closely, but you like recognize them outside of the gym.
Yeah, you got that crowd. I've gone to the night crowd at 3D, and I don't know anybody, so I'm like, I gotta stick to my crowd.
Yeah. This week I went to a workout a little bit different times because of my schedule, and it still wasn't packed. It's never packed in there, never busy. But I'm usually there between 5 and 7, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's the same people every time. It's like the same 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So
that's
nice.
The thing. You go to like one of those smaller gyms, you don't have to worry about the new year, new me people. Pay a little bit extra, and you don't have to ever worry about having to wait or nothing.
I was a little worried. I was like, I'm going at 3 p.m. on a Monday. I was like, it could be busy. It wasn't.
No.
This is kind of the same thing. It was just a small community there.
I think he has like a small influx around like 5 to 6, and that's it. But
yeah.
Well, cool, dude. For everybody that doesn't know you, let's just hop into it. Where are you from?
I am from Oregon. I grew up in Newport on the coast, so I went to Newport High, and then
beach life.
Yeah,
it's like a cold beach, but
yeah, it's the Oregon coast.
Yeah,
so it was a small town, smaller-ish high school. It was a good place to grow up. I had a good friend group, kept me out of trouble.
What'd you do growing up? You go any sports or anything?
Yeah, so I was really into football. I played baseball until it got in the way of football, and I stopped. Played basketball for a little bit, but then again, it was wintertime, and I wanted to lift for football, so I stopped. And then I did some track for football.
All around sports then.
Yeah, I wish I would have wrestled. Man, now that I'm really into grappling and jiu-jitsu, I was like, what was I thinking? I would have loved it. But played a couple years Division II college football at Western Oregon, and then hung up the helmet and finished out my years at Oregon. Just went to school.
What position did you play?
I played middle linebacker and outside linebacker, a little bit of running back in high school. Except I was a kind of a bigger kid in high school, so I also played some O-line just because I was one of the bigger kids. So in college, I could get really big and strong, but I wasn't very fast. And then I could get decently fast, but I wasn't big and strong, so I never really found a balance.
How big were you?
High school, I got up to 240.
Dang.
But I was lifting. I was strong as ever, really into powerlifting. And then I settled in at about 215 in college. So I've been up and down. Right now I weigh about 183. So I've been up and down, depending on what are my goals.
So when you were in college, was it more linebacker then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're running a lot more and stuff. So, yeah, that makes sense why you lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah. I hit 240 in my junior year because I was going for some powerlifting records. And I was like, I can't run. I'm too big. So I ended up trimming out and getting down to about 215 and feeling much better. I was like, I'm strong enough for high school for now.
I had a guy come on here that used to be on the BSU team. I don't know what year it was on, but he was telling me about like their nutritionist, and he'd be going through like the cafeteria line. They're like, no, you need to eat more. You need to eat more. He's like, I just got huge, but I was working out so much, and then I just kept those same eating habits once I got out of the football camp, but I wasn't working out as hard, and I just got big.
Yep. I had a weird kind of a nutrition obsession when I was in high school. I was a freshman. I was like 145, 150, skinny. And my dad was really into lifting, and he did some bodybuilding competitions. So I had an idea of what it took. And I ended up just like writing my own meal plan and just like sticking to it for like a year. And I basically just ate as much as I could. I remember chugging down like 2,000 calorie shakes before I go to bed and like half the time puking. So I put on a ton of weight, but I got really strong, mostly good weight. And then since then I've had this kind of obsession of tracking data and tracking my food is just something I enjoy. So it definitely set some good habits. And then my ability to like go up and down in weight depending on where I'm at. So
yeah,
it's been good.
Did you guys do a lot of traveling for your football team, or was it a lot of smaller colleges around the area? I don't know.
Well, I was only there for 2 years. So I redshirted my first year, so I didn't travel. And then the second year, I traveled a little bit, but didn't play much. I was mostly like special teams. So okay. And Western Oregon doesn't travel a ton, but it was a good experience. It's definitely different than high school ball for sure. So when I was done, I was like, where are my friends at? And they're mostly at Oregon. So I was like, I'm going to transfer over to Oregon, go to Lane Community, kind of dual enroll. And Ended up getting like a criminal justice degree, sociology emphasis, minor in psych. And then got into law enforcement, just like my dad. So pretty much the same thing.
In Oregon?
Yeah. So once I graduated college, I did a quick security gig for Apple, one of their data centers. And then I got hired by Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in Madras. And my whole goal is like, I'm going to go patrol. I want to be on the road. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So that's what I was working towards. And I ended up getting hired by Springfield PD because I was an intern there in college. They knew who I was. Like during my oral board, I knew everyone on the panel. And they're like, it was kind of like a way in. Got hired, spent about 8 months there, went through the full academy, did really well.
What was the academy like?
In Oregon, it wasn't bad. Definitely wasn't as strict as like a military type academy like in California or something.
Yeah, I had a buddy a couple of episodes ago that went through the California one.
Oh yeah, brutal, I'm sure.
Yeah,
we watched ISP just get yelled at and screamed at.
I just seen their reel they put out.
Yeah, so OSP, excuse me. So Oregon State Oregon State Police, they have their own academy, but it was at the same spot. So they were very militaristic, shine your boots, get screamed at every day, and ours was very not like that. It was still like organized. We had to march around and stuff, but wasn't nearly as militaristic as OSP. I'm not sure what ISP is like. But,
yeah, I just seen ISP put out a reel or something, and it was their. I think it's probably their first day, but you had all these state troopers coming in and yelling at everybody. Yeah.
You know the whole inside joke of them being varsity and everyone else JV.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the academy was cool, and then I ended up just really not liking it. Like I couldn't get into it. Like I felt like I either had to live it every day or get out. So I was thinking about I'm done with law enforcement. But then I enjoyed the jail at Jefferson County, and they had a spot open at the Muni jail there, so I transferred in, and haven't looked back since. I didn't want to stay there permanently because my wife she grew up in Pleasant Hill, right outside of Eugene. So we're like, we're not want to stay here permanently. We're either gonna go back to Central Oregon where we started at, or we're going to try somewhere else. And Boise came on the radar because their parents went to Boise State, and came down and visited. It's like, man, this place is really nice, really cool. Then I toured Ada County. I was like, this place is giant because the Muni jail I was working at had like 150 beds. Ada's got 1,200.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely make a career here. They had, all the opportunities with transports and court services and all that stuff. So I ended up putting in for it, and I did a little research with Canyon County and IDOC, and I was like, I just want to go Ada. My wife ended up getting hired by the Boise Fire on the admin side first, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be either commuting or we're going to get hired my first try, and luckily I got hired my first try. So I've been there since 2017.
What was the process like going through Ada County?
It was long and arduous. Probably the most in-depth hiring process I've been a part of.
Compared to the other one in Oregon?
Yeah, because at that point I've been part of Jefferson County's hiring process and Springfield's. And Jefferson County's was pretty easy. Springfield's a little more in-depth. And Ada's was long. They had really in-depth background checks, extensive testing, multiple interviews, all that stuff. So. But I had plenty of experience already, and I knew kind of what it took to do well in the interview process and the whole thing. So I had a lot of stuff to lean back on, and ended up interviewing really well, and got picked up. So
were you still wanting to go patrol? Was that still your end goal for Ada County? Like
no,
when you had got hired on?
I wanted to go to a place that was bigger, more opportunities within the jail.
Oh, okay.
That whole patrol goal kind of faded away after I gave it a shot at Springfield, and I've always kind of wondered if the itch would come back, but it did a little bit, but I'm like, I'm good. And then my son was born, and I'm like, I just want a good schedule. I just want a work that I enjoy, and I want a flexible schedule, allow me to go to all this stuff, and we'll get into it later. But now the position I work now with investigations is perfect. It's exactly what I want.
So what were you doing in this whole time? Were you still all into bodybuilding and all that during this whole...
Yeah, so I got into football in college. Then I switched it over to powerlifting, got really into powerlifting. And then when I got hired by law enforcement, kind of was just lifting for fun, no real goals, kind of bodybuilding-ish. And then when I came over to Ada in 2017, we went through Archon and all the defensive tactics. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Did a little bit when I lived in Eugene, Springfield area, but just like a very small amount. And then 2018 was when I got through the academy, and I was like, I think I want to try this jiu-jitsu stuff out. Mostly because like I hear about it on like Joe Rogan's podcast and Jocko talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed defensive tactics and thought it was fun. And ended up signing up at the base jiu-jitsu in Boise. Now they're in Meridian, and now we're 5 years this deep. So well, it's technically 7.5, but I took a long hiatus for health reasons, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's a big part of my life now, and I get to share it with my son, so he trains too.
Yeah, I wonder how many people Joe Rogan brought to
Probably a lot.
jiu-jitsu.
Probably
I know
a
that's
lot,
where I
yeah.
probably heard
well,
of it.
I mostly heard it on his show, and then I was reading Jocko's books because I was really into personal development back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jiu-jitsu just kept getting brought up, and I was like, I probably should try it. And then, man, once you get through the first couple months, it bites you super hard. And,
I'm a huge Jocko fan. My dog's name is Jocko.
I actually went to Origin, Maine, the company he's associated with.
Yeah, I got all their camo.
I went to their immersion camp in 2019 and 2021. It was a full week of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
At Echo Lake. So I've met Pete Roberts. I've met all their guys. JP Donnell, Jocko was there. Jocko's daughter was there. This was before she got really into training. Now she's a savage. But super fun time. 2021, I went with some friends. So 2019, it was just me. I was like, I'm going to go for a week. And then 2021, I convinced a couple of buddies to go with me. So
a buddy of mine just went down to Florida for one of his leadership weekends.
Oh, really? One of the echelon front things?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was like, dang, it's like $3,200 or something like that.
It's expensive.
Somebody paid for him to go, though. I was like, that's a good hookup.
Yeah, I bet I could probably swing Ada County to pay for something like that. But
yeah, it's all in how you present it.
When I went to the Origin camp in 2019, I think it was like $1,400 or something for the full week. Now it's like 4 days, and it's like $3,400 or something.
Did they get your gis and no gis and all that?
So, excuse me, when I went there, you get like a camp gi, and then they have this pro shop where it's extreme discounts, like 70-80% off. So I loaded up on stuff. Barely could fit it all in my suitcase coming back. But
I switched to Origin because I really liked what they were about. They're all American made, all their products, everything. It's not like I was at Sitka and I realized that all of Sitka stuff is from China.
Yeah.
And then they mark it up so much. I thought it's still a good product, but then I was like, if I can pay a little bit extra and back an American company.
Yeah.
I still haven't tried anything else besides their camo, but
yeah, the only thing with Origin is like because it's so handmade and stuff, sometimes their sizing's a little weird.
Oh. Yeah.
But the quality.
I've heard their jeans are nice.
The quality is there. Yeah, I bought some of their early pairs, and the sizing was really weird, but their quality is really good. One of their big sales recently, it was a Black Friday or something. I went with their Rift 2.0 gi, which is like the nicest gi you could possibly buy. You know, typically gis are like $125, $150. This was like a $300 market price, and I got it for a lot cheaper than that, but the quality is super good, strong, the fit, it's all really good. So yeah, I try to support them when I can. I used to be like Origin or nothing.
Yeah.
Now I'll branch out and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen you rocking the Origin like hoodies and stuff at the gym. And
yeah. Well, at one point I was sponsored by them.
Really?
Yeah, they were sending me all their supplements, Jocko Fuel, and was getting like a little stipend and promoting them and stuff. This is when I had my jiu-jitsu stuff going on, but
that's the ultimate goal. I just want to get free supplements.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, it's tough. Once you get the social media going, like it's nice to get free things. But yeah, I'll always be a big fan of them.
When you were in Eugene, I'm a big fan of Kameron Haynes. That's where he's from, right?
Yeah.
Is that Mount Pisgah? Is that right there, right? That's the one he always running?
Yeah, I used to work at a gym called Forever Strong in Springfield. Shout out to Vic. Kameron Haynes would drop in every once in a while. I'd talk to him. Super, super nice guy. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I met him one time. Yeah, it's on my Instagram because it was like my biggest, fattest I've ever been.
Oh,
and
really?
I got to meet like one of the coolest dudes.
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
Like, man, I just want to get like a new picture. So it's
yeah,
it's like a before and after, but I'm like the biggest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And
I also follow his son Truett now, who's doing all this
freaking crazy
dude.
like setting up the
pull-up record. Yeah, now he's trying to be a
running the marathons in
Olympic
jeans.
trial. Yeah, now he's trying to make the Olympic trials for a marathon, which is I think his best is like a 2:28. He's got to get to like 2:15 or something like that. He'll probably do it. Like I don't have any doubt. He's like losing all this weight too to get faster. But yeah, the Haynes blood is different. Yeah, they're built different for sure.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you ever read that book Endure, but like when you find out where Kameron Haynes came from, like he was just drinking all the time. Not,
Yep.
I mean, he ran here and there, but he wasn't like taking care of himself like he should. And then he's flipped a switch, so it's not like. I mean, yeah, they got some blood in him for sure, but you got to make some decisive decisions.
Oh, totally. Well, and a lot of people know, like he's up until just a couple years ago, he had a full-time job.
Yeah,
working for I think PUD or something.
Electricians. Or
yeah,
something,
so he had a full-time job. Plus, he was training, running all the time, and doing all these crazy hunts. So like,
yeah, working for the city, I think, or something, right?
For the city, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never knew that until I read that book, and I was like, what in the world?
You'd think like he would be a full-time just bow hunter and runner, but no, he was doing it before work, after work, and then taking time off. So, and I think now he's doing it full-time. So,
I mean, you could probably attest to this too, but like how important the father is in a family. Like just working in a jail, like a lot of these people just grew up this way, right? So if you're growing up around a freaking beast like Cameron Haynes and that's all you know, or you grow up with like a druggy dad and that's all you know, like the dad is such an important role in that family.
Oh, huge. Yeah, I was super blessed to have a tremendous example with my dad and just the best example for work ethic and humbleness and, just put your head down and work. And I hope to give my son the same example. So it's been cool, like bringing him on the mats and, just showing him that, I'm working out, staying healthy, just setting that example. Because it's a huge deal for sure.
How long were you working at Ada County before you had your kid?
So I started at Ada County in 2017. My son was born in 2020, February, right before COVID hit. So we were here for 3-ish years before he was born.
So where was everything going on in your life at that point? Was everything? I know you said you had a health problem. Where was that in this whole timeline?
Yeah. So we'll get into a little bit.
Or is that still further on? I wasn't sure where.
It's like your kid or... So it was in 2022.
Oh, okay.
So it was after we settled in, after we had my kid. My kid was like 2. And then.
So how was COVID working at a jail?
It was crazy.
I know it sucked for us. I was on the bus at that point, and everybody's like, "You're trying to have them keep masks on while they're on the bus."
It was so frustrating. Obviously, everyone that works at the jail is like pretty conservative and not wanting to trust the government and whatnot. So like, everyone was pissed because they were trying to get us to wear masks, like the deputies. Mm-hmm. And it was first like, "Oh, wear a mask when like you're here, or wear a mask when you're in this unit." Or wear a mask when you're like close to people. And then it's like, well, now you got a social distance. And like, I was training someone at the time. So like, I'd get like calls from like the command staff and they're like, hey, like you're sitting too close to your trainee. I'm like,
oh gosh,
this is dumb. And it was funny because we'd have entire units test positive for COVID and like the deputy would be working in there and no big deal. And like, we'd pull units out and they would think we're pulling them out and telling them that they're all negative, but we're actually pulling out the whole unit because the entire unit's positive. It was like a COVID dorm. Mm. It was just a policy after policy change. And like some inmates were freaking out. Some weren't.
Doing all those temp checks every hour.
Yeah. Temp checks when we came into work. Like we had to do all these weird sanitary, like washing things. And it constantly changed like every week.
Yeah.
And there was a couple deputies that were like, I ain't wearing a mask. I'm not doing it. And like, they were like kind of getting in trouble, but kind of not. Like, it was so strange.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was lucky that I still had a job. I got some COVID money too, like some hazard pay.
Right.
So nothing really changed as far as scheduling goes. But like, I think jiu-jitsu schools closed down for like 6 months in the area. I remember that. That sucked.
Yeah.
There was a couple.
It's not essential.
There was a couple that were like training underground.
Yeah.
But it was a wild time. Yeah, we were lucky that my son was born right before that happened.
My son was born in June of 2020. So nobody was allowed to the hospital and actually was
I was right in the middle of it.
It was so nice. I was like, I'm glad this is nice.
Oh, you liked it.
So the first time we had kids, like the first kid we had, everybody it feels like it was in the living room. I'm like, what are we doing here? I think this is all right. My mom was in there, her mom was in there, her cousin was in there, I'm in there. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see how less people would be good.
Yeah. But, I mean, they came and see us after we got home, and we were only in there for 24 hours, so
really?
It wasn't bad. But I was like, goodness.
Hey, what a wild time.
I know. Trying to describe that to someone, like, dude, 2020 was crazy. You couldn't get toilet paper, nothing.
Yeah, like the
people posting on Facebook, Costco's got toilet paper, hurry. We're like, what the world?
Well, we had some people that were like giving us like baby wipes and diapers and stuff because they were afraid that we were gonna run out.
Yeah.
But
I remember people would start taking toilet paper home from the prison. It's like, gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it was a crazy time, but yeah, I was just curious because I know it sucked at the prison, like all the protocols. So I'm sure like any state
Yeah.
or
And of course,
county
we
or
had
anything.
certain command staff that were like really into it.
Yeah.
We had one sergeant that was so afraid of it that the second he got any type of like sniffles or anything, like he like shut down and like went home and like hid in his basement for like a month. And there was a time where I was the lead, where I was like the stand-in sergeant when he left. So he bounced and then he called and like everyone that he had in contact with, he like forced to go home. So like half my team went like was gone. And I'm like, how am I going to do this the rest of the week? So I had to like run like crazy minimum staffing. And I would get like calls at like training, like, hey, you were in contact with so and so. They tested positive. You need to go home.
That was a crazy time.
And
Yeah.
then I'd go and I'd tell a lieutenant, and they're like, no, that's stupid. You're good. Stay. Like, do you feel sick? No. Like, and I honestly never really. I think the only time I took a test, and I didn't really take it right because I wanted to go so bad, was for that 2021 Origin camp. It was right to the tail end of COVID, so you had to provide a negative test to go. So like I went and took some Walgreens like BS test and like barely put it in my nose and all that stuff. Cause like, I swear if this prevents me from going, I'm going to be so pissed. And then they're doing like on site stuff. But once you were on there, it was good to go. So that was the only time I really even took the test or really cared. I'm sure I had it. I mean, I was around it all the time, but I don't remember losing my taste or anything. But I wasn't really into like, and a lot of people, oh, I'm sick, because they had like COVID pay or COVID vacation.
Yeah, you got 2 weeks paid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I got that right in the middle of the summertime. They called me and they're like, me and another dude had taken an inmate on a medical run.
Yeah.
And they're in the morning. And then our second one, we're on our way back with a completely separate dude. And they're like, hey, the first person that you took this morning popped hot.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't even let us into the institution. We got into the Sally Port. They got the inmate that we had currently, put him on the back of their golf cart, and didn't let us in because we were like patient zero. We were the first transport to ever like go out and come back in.
I've got a funny story
COVID
about patient
person.
zero. We'll circle back.
So then, so we go. They take him. We don't even get to go in. We go park a car. They bring out this bus disinfectant thing and pop it in this little car to disinfect the whole thing. We did like a cleaning of our gun, like right in the Sally Port, got our guns all like laid out and everything. Like it had COVID on it. They were spraying it, just didn't even let us in. They took all of our gear, said go home. And it was in the middle of summer and they're like, all right, you're gone for the next 10, 14 days or whatever. And I'm like, well, golf courses were still open and you could social distance on golf courses. I was like, I'm going to go social distance on the golf course. My wife was kind of freaking out because we just had our kid. And I was like, I'll go check the trail cams up in the mountains, honey. I'll take one for the team. I'm going to go. She's like, all right, you don't have to. You can just go in the other room. I was like, no. I'll go to the mountains.
Yeah, I'll go outside. It's all right.
Yeah. I was like, I'm doing this for you.
Yeah, that's funny. I was kind of telling people, I was like, I'm going to continue training. Like, I don't care. And one of my sergeants got so pissed. And he said I was going to be patient zero at Ada County. I was going to infect everyone. I'm like, yeah, all right. I guess that's me.
I was joking the whole time, too. And I was like, guys, just watch this opening week of hunting season. I'm going to probably get exposed or something. And the week before opening of hunting season, they called me as like, you were exposed.
Oh, you're like, now they're going to think I'm.
My sergeant was like, who did you pay
Yeah.
to say you were a part of their COVID? I was like, gosh. So, yeah, the first whole week of hunting season, I was just off. They were like, oh,
Sweet.
my gosh.
There's some positives with COVID, but
yeah,
it's just, man, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me as far as like, I don't think government really has the best interest for us, but we'll not get into that stuff.
Yeah, I was glad that I worked in an essential job at that point.
Yeah,
I still had
totally.
a job. So
yeah, I was really thankful. Like I'll deal with the BS mass stuff as long as I keep getting paid.
Yeah, right. So what else is going on in this time and stuff in your timeline?
Yeah, so got hired by Ada at 2017, had my kid at 2020. I think at that point, 2021 and stuff, I was shifting over to just getting crazy obsessed with jiu-jitsu and training, and probably my priorities were a little bit shifted, and I'm pretty stubborn. So
I think promoting during this time on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was training a lot, competing a lot, and I could feel a little bit of the strain into my family, and I think God like gave me some hints of like pull back. like you're getting a little bit too obsessed with it. And
Check your idols.
yeah, totally. And there was times where my wife and I would get into some marriage counseling just to continue to improve our marriage. Not that we were in a really rough spot, but we would. And like, I remember distinctly like sitting there and being asked like, well, what does jiu-jitsu mean to you? And I'm like, well, it's everything, because it's pretty much everything at that point. So I think that was kind of a precursor to my health struggles that I had in 2022. And I can get into it a little bit if you want me to.
Yeah, man.
I was trying to think of like what's an overall theme for what I want to talk about, and I came up with a kind of a saying of, when I stopped trying to force my life back, God used the pause to rebuild it better. And I'm a big like, I'm just gonna outwork everything, and throughout the whole process, I couldn't outwork it. Like, I had to be patient. I had to let go. So we'll get into it a little bit. But in early 2022, I was dealing with some shoulder pain. And I was like, well, I've had some shoulder pain in the past. I ended up getting labrum surgery in high school from a football hit. So I tried PT. I tried to fix it. But after about 6 or 7 weeks, I was like, I don't want to continue to do PT. I just want it fixed. So probably not the best idea, but ended up getting all the tests. And they're like, yeah, there's some tears there. And I was like, all right, surgery, let's get it fixed. So in April 2022, I got the surgery fixed. And my expectation going into it was fix the shoulder, get back to training, and then move on with my life. So I had surgery went well. I had like this crazy elaborate rehab plan. I like researched for hours, and I talked to the best PTs and best nutrition, all this stuff. And I crushed it. Like, it was the best rehab I've ever had. Got better every week. Ended up getting back on the mats, and thought I had it fixed. But then I started getting that pain back. So my biceps started to ache. I had some weird neurological symptoms in my hands, some numbing. And so then I was getting a little worried. I was like, maybe I rushed it too back, or rushed getting back to jiu-jitsu too fast. And then mid to late 2022, the symptoms started to like spread. So like, it wasn't just in my arms, it was in my shoulders, it was in my neck, upper back. And it just progressively started getting worse. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, if it was purely just a shoulder issue from the surgery, then it should be just located in that one side. So of course I tried everything: shoulder PT, cervical PT, chiropractor, acupuncture, massage. No answers, no relief. And I started getting pretty worried. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So late 2022, early 2023, they became systemic. So like, my whole body hurt. I felt like I had the flu. I had these weird, like, I had weird vision issues. Energy levels were down. It got so bad where just putting on my uniform like started to really wreak havoc on my upper back. So I ended up going to light duty, and which was like a big ego hit, because I was like, well, I just got done with surgery. I just got done with rehab. I'm trying to get back to jiu-jitsu, and now I'm going to light duty at work. And I remember sitting in front of my lieutenant's office like, I can't work right now. Like, I can't focus. My upper back hurts. My neck hurts. And I don't know what's going on. Like, I can't figure it out. And I was starting to do the circle of all the doctors. And no one was giving me the answers. They're like, yeah, this doesn't really fit, like shoulder issues. So I did blood work. I went to a neurosurgeon. I got a cervical MRI, neurologist, rheumatologist, physical medicine. Like, I did everything. Like, I was literally like going to every doctor I could think of, and I was using all my connections. So I would say, hey, do you know anybody that could see me? So I got into like a neurologist way faster than normal, which was a blessing. So I ran the gamut. And at this point, like, I was starting to get depressed. I was starting to like question my identity, because I couldn't lift. I couldn't train jiu-jitsu. I was light duty at work, so I wasn't doing anything active. Because anytime I do thing actives, I get way worse. And my energy levels would dip, and I literally would have weeks where I just felt like I had the flu. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And there was times where my whole body was just hurting, aching, and I would go like hour to hour. I was like, all right, I just want to last one more hour of just like getting better. And I shifted towards, I had like two focuses: don't quit my job, because I need the money, and show up for my family. So that's all I was focused on. And one verse that I really leaned on was James 1:2-4. And it says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." So I hung on to that verse. And a little background to me, I grew up in a Nazarene church. I have an incredible foundation in Christ. I'm not the best Christian out there. I'm not saying I am, but it's deep rooted in me. And it was almost like everything was stripped from me. My identity in lifting, my identity in jiu-jitsu, my identity at work, me being that physical, getting after a guy, I felt like I was completely stripped. So then I was like, I should probably start going back to church. So got into Rock Harbor, ended up running I think or at least you've gone through it, you're going through it, Re-Engage with my wife.
Yeah, we just got into the email yesterday for a closed group.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing that, and I started reintegrating myself with my faith, because everything else was silenced. Everything else there's no more noise, and we've never really tried to have a Christ-centered marriage before that. So it was a really good opportunity to kind of dig into that. Met some friends, got in a small group. I ended up getting baptized again because I was baptized when I was a kid. So I ended up getting baptized again in the river, which was super cool. And then at that point I was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of start letting go of things and just seeing what happens. And I'm still going to doctors and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. But I feel like I started to loosen up of my death grip of me trying to fix it. And because the more I death gripped, the worse I got, because the anxiety, the stress. And I was like, well, I just want to, I need to work my way out of this, but I definitely couldn't. So in early 2023, so it's been about a year since the whole thing happened. So it's been a while. And I was on light duty for over a year, which is a long time. And credit to Ada County, no questions asked. They were like, what do you need from us? And we're going to take care of you. So I ended up getting transferred into our investigations unit, which is my full-time position now. And I was a light duty position, and I was like, well, I'm going to do everything I can to prove that I'm still worthy of working at Ada. So
What were you doing before that?
I was just before the light duty spot.
Yeah,
I was just a regular deputy in housing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I moved around, booking, housing, dorms, all that stuff. So at that point, we only had one investigator, and we didn't even have an analyst. So anytime a person on light duty would get assigned, they'd usually shift over to investigations and help them out. So luckily, there was a spot open, and I remember working at a desk, and I was like, because I'm usually I'm gonna be the one working the units and helping inmates and doing SRT stuff, but now I have to research things and write reports, and at first it was really, really hard.
Yeah, the SRT, that's the special response
team. Yeah. So it was basically going from a physical job at the Gator County to now a desk job, which I didn't think I would like. And as I got into it, I kind of developed this passion and interest in it, and got really good at reports, got really good at testifying. And that year was just an incredible opportunity to learn a new skill. And ultimately, it helped prove to the commissioners that we needed 2 spots. So my work in that light duty role actually helped the Ada County prove that they were going to ask for a second spot and then get it approved, because they've been asking for a second spot for years. And
a second investigator.
Okay. And now they had actual data of hey, now this was the work that was produced with 2 investigators during that year. We need 2. So that was another whole hindsight's 2020 thing. I was put in that spot for a reason. Ultimately, now it's my full-time spot. We'll circle back. But getting back to the whole story, in early 2023, I finally gained some traction of what could be going on, and I met with an osteopathic doctor who dealt with this thing called low-dose immunotherapy. And I remember sitting in his office, and I told him my whole story, and I tracked everything from who I saw to all my symptoms to, how I was feeling to what I've tried. And I remember just literally in tears telling him hey, this is what's going on. I know I'm not right, even though my blood work's good and all the tests seem fine. And funny story, he actually went through a chronic illness back in when he was a young adult of Lyme disease. And he's like, this sounds like Lyme disease. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. How can I get Lyme disease? And he's like, well, we're going to try a few things and they're going to be kind of like a tester. And I'm going to give you a low dose immunotherapy dose. And either you're going to get better or you're going to get way worse. And either way, that's going to be an indicator we're on the right track. So we tried the low dose immunotherapy and I got way worse. Like the next day, all my symptoms I had, joint pain, fatigue, skyrocketed. And what sucks about low dose immunotherapy is you can't continue to dose it. You've got to give your body back to like the baseline and stabilize. So I had to wait another 6 weeks to try it again at a different dose. And we did that, I think 2 or 3 times. And I just kept getting worse. And I was like, all right, well, I think we're on the right track, but this is taking forever. And what are my other options? So
if it gets worse, they know it's Lyme disease then?
Yeah, because basically you're having a reaction to it. It's almost like an allergy test where like you give someone a certain compound or whatever and they react to it, then hey, they're allergic to it. So I was just getting overdosed. Like I was having too much of this supposed reaction to cause this tick-borne illness to fire back up. And basically it's if I had to describe it simply, it's an autoimmune issue to deal with your immune system. And it, depending on who you are, it can affect all different types of systems. Some people deal with energy, joint pain. Some people deal with, fatigue. But it can hit any of your systems, like digestive system, vision. Some people get really bad. Some people get bedridden. So I was lucky enough not to. But because of my health background and understanding what feels good, I knew something was off. So finally, I was like, well, at least we have a direction, but where do I want to go? Like, what's my next step? Because when I started researching Lyme disease and tick-borne illness and chronic illness and immune system issues, there's like a million treatments. And I spoke to a friend, one of my wife's friends, and she's like, hey, I know this guy, Dr. West out in Pocatello, who has a clinic, and it's like a non-Western medicine clinic where they do a lot of your untraditional stuff like IV infusion therapy, acupuncture, red light therapy, herbal medicine, supplements, all this stuff. And she had a ton of success with him. So I was like, well, let me give him a shot. But it was tough for me to do it because he was really expensive and
not covered by insurance.
No,
right?
Not even close.
Yeah.
And so I like did a video consult with him, and he's like, yeah, this is kind of what we think's happening. And he was able to do some blood work where he'd look at my blood and he'd give his professional opinion of what he thinks is going on. And so I ended up talking to my parents, and I was like, I'm this close for quitting my job. Like I can barely handle day-to-day life. And they're like, hey, whatever it costs, we'll pay for it. So super lucky. Like my parents were like, hey, you're good to go. So I ended up going down there for a total of 10 treatments. And when you go down there, it's like a 3-hour drive, and it's like a full day treatment. So you have you get hooked up with IV nutrition, like heavy doses of vitamin C. They do they clean out your blood. You do acupuncture. You do a bunch of supplements. They have a few other things they were doing, like ozone therapy.
When they clean out your blood, is it like the same thing they do for what's that, like kidney or liver thing, where they have to
kind of similar
run?
They run it through like a machine and they throw it back in.
Yeah.
And after those 10 treatments, it was it definitely moved the needle. I feel better.
How far apart were each one of those treatments?
It was weekly, so it was 10 weeks. And thankfully, my work, I was working light duty, and I could move my hours around. So I was still working, but I was traveling down there. And after 10 treatments, I was like, man, this is starting to feel really good. And, better at least. But it was not sustainable. There's no way I could continue to do that. And afterwards, I don't regret doing it because it gave me another like, hey, this is probably what's going on. But I think I expected to be fixed after 10 treatments.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works. And they didn't really sell me that, but like they definitely did not sell me that. You know what I mean? And come to find out, like a lot of their Lyme disease patients and chronic illness, like they'll do it for months. Like some of them will move to Pocatello for like a year and do it every week. And if you do everything for that long period of time, you basically just sit in the pocket of being really healthy and all that stuff going in. Like, yeah, you're gonna get better, but I was like, I can't do that. It'll cost thousands of dollars, and
It's not a long-term fix.
it's not a long-term fix. It's more of just like kind of a Band-Aid, but it didn't seem like something that I could sustain. And also I didn't like going there because there's just people that were sick around me. No offense to people that were there, but like it was almost like going to a hospital every week.
Yeah.
And after the 10 treatments, I thanked him and I was like, it's really good. And he's like, well, I want to continue to work with you. And they gave me the whole thing, but I was like, well, let me pull back. And I know I'm getting better, and but this isn't sustainable. So again, I dove back into research, and a couple of Bible verses that I was leaning on at the time was 2 Chronicles 20:15. He said, listen, all people of Judah and Jerusalem, listen, King Jehoshaphat. This is what the Lord says. Do not be afraid. Don't be discouraged by this mighty army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. That's what I was feeling like I was fighting. I was fighting this weird battle of like this health issue where I never thought I'd be in. I was the healthy guy, athletic guy, the person that get after it. Now I'm dealing with this weird health issue. So I was like, this isn't mine to fight. This is God's. And then what's that?
How did it take a toll on your family and stuff going through all this? You don't have energy. You're traveling every weekend.
Yeah, it was really tough. And credit to my wife. We had like a 3-year-old at the time, 3 or 4-year-old. So like
a lot of energy with those.
Yeah. So like she could tell I was just going through it, and I didn't have any outlets. I didn't have training. I didn't have lifting. I didn't have physical activity. Like I was just trying to, live day to day and trying to figure out who I was without all that stuff. And ultimately, like I figured out like all these things I do is not my identity. My identity should be rooted in Christ, and it should be rooted in my family and my morals and ethics. So it was like a big gut check. And I think it needed everything to get pulled away for me to kind of understand what my priorities were. So it was tough. I mean, she's a trooper. She didn't grow up in the church, and she was willing to go to the Rock Harbor, re-engage with me and start a small group. And, she kind of just held down the fort. I wasn't completely disengaged, but I wasn't my full self. Like I remember Halloween and Christmas Day, and I'll look back at photos, and it was funny because as I was getting better each year, and this was ultimately like a 3-year process, I'd look back and I'd have these moments during the year where it'd be like almost like a memory would pop in my head of like, hey, last Halloween, I remember how I felt. And I remember I felt just absolute like dog shit. And now at this Halloween, I'm feeling a little better. And then it was like Christmas. So it was like these big events. I remember how I felt last week or last year. And I was like, oh, progress is being made. But when it's so slow, you don't know it. But it's got every year you really notice how much you made progress. And then one other verse was probably one of the biggest I leaned on to this whole thing was John 13:7. Jesus replied, you don't understand now what I am doing, but someday you will. And that was something that I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what the ultimate purpose is this, but I know there's going to be a reason for it. And now being on their side, I kind of understand, and we'll circle back at the end of kind of the lessons I've learned and the benefits I got from it. So going back to the whole thing, I stopped going to Dr. West, did a ton of research, and I was like, I need to find a doctor that specializes in tick-borne illnesses. I need a doctor that can take my insurance. I need a doctor that's willing to be aggressive, but not overly aggressive, and it's not going to cost thousands of dollars. So I ended up finding a doctor in Seattle who took my insurance, and Seattle flights are pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. And I flew up there, and my first appointment was June 27th of 2023. So this all started early 2022. Now we're in June of 2023. So it's been a year and a half. And most of this year and a half, like probably a good chunk of that, I wasn't training, I wasn't doing anything, so I felt like I was just a shell of who I was.
Your body's getting all smaller and everything.
Yeah,
and,
like just like because I there was never a point in my life that I wasn't working out,
right.
and like, but I was just worried too. Like I was scared. Like I had this mental block of when I work out, when I stress my body, I get worse. So I ended up just stopping, just not doing it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like gaining a ton of weight or whatever, but I wasn't being physically active.
Yeah.
So we're a year and a half into it. I go to my first appointment, and she does a bunch of blood work, like really specific blood work. And she goes, "Yeah, this is a positive test for me. We're gonna go
For the Lyme disease?
For the Lyme disease, yeah." And I won't get into the whole thing, but Lyme disease testing sucks. You have to do specific blood work with doctors that know how to read it, and then half the battle of Lyme disease is the blood work may not fully show it, but you still have it. So you have to try things and see what happens, kind of like the LDI. So I was like, all right, what are we going to do? So we ended up running antibiotics pretty heavily for like 6 months, which was crazy because antibiotics suck. They just make you feel, run down and tired. And there was a couple antibiotics that didn't really react well, but we ran some specific ones. And then we switched over to more herbal and natural products. We ran some peptides and some supplements, which another thing that sucks about a chronic illness is like there's a ton of supplements you can take to help. But if you take 25 supplements, like it gets pretty expensive. And obviously insurance doesn't cover it. So I'm trying to make my best with like buying things that I really need, but not overbuying. And because people can like absolutely go bankrupt trying to get their health back, which when you have a health problem, that's all you really care about. So I finally got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm working with this doctor. I'm going up to Seattle every couple months. I'm doing video visits. And I kind of shifted from how fast thinking, well, how fast can I get better to how do I heal properly and then stay well? So like I slowed things way down. I was like, this is a long-term approach. And I was talking to my doctor and she's like, yeah, you just have to start stacking months together. And, in a year, you're going to be, maybe from 75% to 85%, and then another year, 85 to 95%. And you're going to learn how to basically live with this autoimmune issue. And the longer you are in a environment that's healthy, the more you can stay there. So, we started getting better. Couple Bible verses was Romans 8:18, present suffering and future glory. I consider our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us.
So I got my wrist.
Yeah, there you go. Which is a verse that I hung on to. And I found all these verses like, that's perfect for me. I'm going to lean onto this. And I'd repeat it like every day. And I was like, there's a reason for this. This isn't going to compare to the future glory I have. And then it was about like rebuilding my life as far as like bringing things back in really slowly. I tried to get back into jiu-jitsu. I made multiple attempts to get back. Like this was in 2024 and I was still death gripping it. Like I was like, I have to get back to jiu-jitsu. I have to get back to jiu-jitsu. And what's funny is, every attempt that I tried to get back to jiu-jitsu completely failed.
Yeah. You're good. Keep going.
I'd try a couple weeks and then I'd get frustrated and then I would get worse and then I'd stop. And then a couple months would go by and I'd try a couple weeks and I get frustrated and I stop. What I found was grit alone wasn't enough and discipline without wisdom backfires. So I ended up getting to a certain point where I was okay with never training again. And I think that was the big mindset shift and heart shift was I think God was trying to get me to was you need to prove to me that you're good with never training jiu-jitsu again. And then maybe you'll get it in the future. And that's not how it always works. But I got to the point where it was like this overwhelming piece of, yeah, I'm good if I never train again. I'm good with it.
I feel like it was a priority switch that had to happen first.
Totally. A huge priority shift that had to happen first. And it was almost like letting it go. And I thought I was done. Like I sold all my gis. I sold all my rash guards. Well, I ended up keeping one just in case. But I was like, I'm good with it. Like I was telling my friends, like, I'm not even trying to come back anymore. All I'm focused in on is rebuilding my life, getting back to full duty, getting back to adding SRT. And that was another thing was when I was getting sick and going to light duty, I pulled everything off my plate. Like I left the SRT team. I went on light duty. I stopped instructing. I stopped training jiu-jitsu. I stopped strength training. Like everything that I was doing, I completely pulled off my plate so I could just focus on healing. And then it was like a really slow addition back in. So it was like adding this and seeing how I feel, adding this and see how I feel. And really my focus is shift from fully moved to health, family, or health, faith, and family. And then only after I let go of that jiu-jitsu and that focus was when it started to enter my life again. Another verse was Philippians 13 through 14. No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. So I leaned on that verse in certain time period because I was so focused on what I used to be, my identity before, and I was still holding on to it. And I was like, I need to leave that behind and I need to move into who I'm going to become, because I feel like this whole season of 2 years of figuring out this health problem, there's got to be a reason. And it's going to turn me into who I'm supposed to be rather than trying to get back to where I was before. And that's the big reason why I think each attempt to get back to jiu-jitsu wasn't working, because I was so focused on what I used to be. It's been 2 years. Like, you're a different person. Obviously the skills are there deep, but like it's going to take a long time to get them back. And then Kanan started training, my son. So February 8th of 2025, Kanan started training jiu-jitsu. So then training for me shifted from just trying to be for myself, but it was more of it was connection with him, it was legacy with him, it was presence with him.
What made him want to start training?
We got him into wrestling, and he's a boy, so we're like, I'm a big fan of grappling. I still loved it, and we ended up meeting Levi Jones at Rock Harbor, who runs a wrestling academy, and he's like, "Hey, my son is about your son's age. You mind bringing him by?" And that was the only reason we really got him started. So we brought him by, got him into wrestling for a few months, and then I was like, I should probably get Kanan into some jiu-jitsu because I know it'd be good for him, a good outlet. And then at first, when I started him at 208 in Nampa, I was just watching from the side. And it was kind of hard for me to be in there at first. But then I was like, again, I was totally cool with it. I was just happy to help. And then I started getting pulled onto the mats with him to kind of help him out, help the class. And then I was like, all right, well, I don't need this anymore. I don't have to come back. But maybe we'll give this one more try and see what happens. So in May of 2025, May 25th of 2025, I returned to training. It was slow, intentional, sustainable. I wasn't chasing my old self, and I was focused on building something better, not building something that I used to be. That was 7 months ago, and we're still training. I'm close to 100%. I'm super intentional, super disciplined, and I'm not rushed. A Bible verse I'm leaning on now is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, they are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and of hope. So it was crazy. Like, I tried all these times to get back to jiu-jitsu. It wasn't working. Decided, okay, I'm done. I'm good with it. I don't need it anymore. And then Kanan started training. And then I came back in a new perspective of, this isn't going to be my main priority. It's going to continue to be below faith, family, all that stuff. And it's stuck this time. So it's like, I guess I needed a hard lesson of, you need to have jiu-jitsu at a certain point where it doesn't take over your life, but it enhances your life. And then now it's like, I train with Kanan Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I take him to open mat on Saturdays. So it's kind of our thing together. And it's worked. So a couple things that I wanted to touch on that I got from that season of suffering. That light duty position led to new skills, new perspective, and a new job opportunity, which I would have never had that opportunity because, one, I wasn't really into investigations. I didn't write a lot of reports. I would have never applied. But after that year of light duty and feeling it out, I was like, yeah, this is something I could possibly do. And then when I interviewed, I was like, I've already done this job for a year. Like, I was almost a shoo-in. And there was no way. I mean, there were some really qualified guys that are really good. that I would have not beat out if I didn't have that light duty experience. It's a huge blessing, and I would have never known. And I'm thankful that I took that opportunity to do as best I can and prove that I could do it. Because now it's a schedule that's flexible. Weekends, holidays are off. I love my supervisor and command staff, and I enjoy the work. So it's just a huge blessing, which I would have never had unless I would have, dove deep into this health issue. With jiu-jitsu, less training has forced efficiency, faster progress with fewer reps. I have like no wasted rounds. It's super intentful. Like I'm so grateful just to be on the mats that I'm not wasting anything. Like before I would just, all right, who's the hardest guy to go with? How many rounds can I get in? But now it's like every session I pull everything out of. So I have this new perspective of like, how do I learn the best? How do I get obsessed with learning, and how do I learn the fastest? How do I basically like, what's the minimum amount of time I can get on the mats and then get the most out of it, which I would have never done. Like it's a whole perspective shift. Before I was just trying to outwork everybody. Eventually would have ran into a wall because your body can only handle so much, right? With my health, I'm way in tune with recovery, stress, and overall health. Like I spent so many months constantly monitoring my body that like now I'm very in tune of something's kind of off or I need to pull back. And ultimately, I think I'm 37 now. Ultimately, I think it'll be a benefit in the future because I understand my body a lot better now. And before I was like, I'm just going to hammer strength training and hammer jiu-jitsu and ignore my body. Now it's like, I get these red flags or something. I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to take a session off. I'm going to work on sleep. So it'll be a huge benefit in the future. And then obviously with my faith, it's strengthened beyond theory now. I actually lived it. I don't just believe. And it's not like I had belief before, but now I see the whole thing of like, God put you through this so that you can become this. Like, I have no doubt, like now any big obstacle I face, I'm like, there's a reason for this. So I just don't get as stressed anymore. Like I don't get all wound up. I don't get worried. I don't have nearly as much anxiety or stress because I've been through a certain point. And don't get me wrong, I was at my lowest point, depressed. Only thing that was holding on was my son and my family and work. That's the only thing that was holding me through. And now it's like I have a perspective of I know everything's going to work out for the good. You know what I mean? So I've lived through it. With marriage, we had that re-engaged marriage course, which was awesome. We tried Christ-centered marriage, which was awesome. And then a big thing I learned throughout was how much support I have from my friends and the jiu-jitsu community. One thing that was cool that was happened was the gym that I train out now, 208, they did a fundraiser for me when I was really sick. And shout out to Reese. He thought of the idea. And this is when I was really worried about financial stuff. I was like, how am I going to pay for all this? This is right before I went to Seattle. And a ton of people came out. They did this big fundraiser thing, and they literally handed me like a few $1,000s to pay for this whole thing. And I wasn't planning on training at 208 after that. I was good with being done. But now that I'm training at 208 after that fundraiser thing, it just feels good to like give it back a little bit because they really took care of me. And this wasn't even my gym originally. I didn't even train there. But I knew some people that trained there, and during that time when I didn't train, I didn't lift, I wasn't really an active member at work other than investigations. Like you really figured out who the real ones were. I remember almost weekly coffee dates with Jake Blanchard, a good friend of mine who like kept me on track. People would text me and check in, and like those are the friends that I can count on forever now because I could tell like they knew me as Cam before this. And then when everything was stripped, jiu-jitsu, strength training, all the physical stuff, they still stuck with me. So it was a good reminder of like who's the real ones, for sure. And then a couple things, just some bullet points that are lessons I learned was focus on what is, not what if. Seeking help is strength, not weakness. Timing is a tool, not the enemy. Gratitude changes everything. And faith is an anchor for everything. I think that the whole thing, if I had to boil it down, was for the first time in my life, effort, grit, and willpower weren't the answer. Every time I tried to muscle my way back, I paid for it. And progress only came when I stopped trying to control the outcome. So letting go was huge. Realigning my whole priorities was huge. And I wouldn't change it. Like I said, when I stopped trying to force my life back, God used it to pause to rebuild it better. I wouldn't ask it upon anyone, but I would not take a minute back. It's completely changed who I am. I have like a joy and a gratitude for life and a perspective of I've been in the depths of really low, and I had to force my way down there to really figure out who I'm going to be. But I mean, we're pretty much back, and I never thought I would go through something like that. I never thought I'd be, those people that are sick or those chronic illness people. Like, I have a new appreciation for them for sure.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy ride, and the whole thing probably early 2022 to probably 2025, and then 2025 I always felt pretty good, and then 2026 right now I'm pretty much back to normal. So like a 3-year process.
Do you still have to do any treatments or anything now, or is it like...
Yeah, very minimal. I'd take a like a microdose of a medication called naltrexone. Helps with autoimmune issues and some inflammation response, but it's just like a one pill at night. And then every 3 or 4 months, I'll run like a herbal like blast where I'll kind of keep things in check. And then every 6 months, I'll check in with that Seattle doc and make sure everything's good. But other than that, it's just managing stress, managing nutrition, managing overall training load, and knowing when to pull back. And it'll be something you kind of live with wherever. They say with Lyme disease, you never really be cured of it, but you put it in remission. And then as long as you keep those things in check. And I was talking to the doctor, I was like, where do you think I could have got Lyme disease?
Yeah.
Because typically it's from a tick bite, right? And I used to live on the East Coast when I was like a little kid, when my dad was in the military, and could potentially have got it then, because you can get bit and then it can harbor inside, and then oftentimes a stressful event like a surgery or a really stressful time period can kind of throw things out of whack, and then it just kind of gets hold of your immune system, and then it goes, you take the dip. So that could have happened
Like decades later, huh?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Which is wild to me. Or maybe it could have been those origin trips to Maine. There's a lot of ticks over there, or maybe even some trips to Montana. You just never know. It doesn't really matter. But it took a long time for me to accept like this is possible Lyme disease until I started doing those tests, and then I started trying things out and getting better. So it was a wild few years, but like I said, I wouldn't take it back for anything.
How many things had to line up for you to get to that one doctor that said that they had that as a kid or something?
A lot. I went to a lot of doctors.
Like, you got to think about faith of like how many things had to line up for that.
Yeah, totally.
One person to be like, yeah, I know what this is, when everybody else couldn't figure it out with all the other tests.
Right, and no one else even suggested maybe a chronic illness or Lyme disease, because it's kind of taboo a little bit for some reason in the medical community. And I went from like real doctors to neurosurgeons to rheumatologists to all the blood work, and then I don't remember who suggested. I think I went to a pain clinic, a physiatrist or something, and he's like, "Hey, I got a guy who deals with really weird cases. You should check him out." And when I told him my story, he's like, "Yeah, dude, I used to be a high level, like almost Olympic skier, and I went through this weird illness of we couldn't figure it out for so long, and then that's why he got into low dose immunotherapy, because it ended up fixing him." And he's like, it ended up being Lyme disease. So yeah, the whole journey to that point, it started. I was like, okay, we're on the right track, and I think throughout the whole thing, I think it took so long because it was really testing my patience and really changing my heart, working on my priorities, and letting me let go of, I'm going to outwork this. I'm going to grit through this, and just leaving it to God and being like, this is your battle. I'm not going to fight anymore. And once I started doing that, I think things started lining up. And then the Seattle doctor was just a blessing, because there's tons of doctors all over the United States that charge an arm and a leg to help you out, and they probably get better. But like, to me, to find a doctor that is a quick flight, takes my insurance, is aggressive but not overly aggressive, and works within a budget, was perfect. So she got me right on track, and then it was just about letting time do its thing. That was one thing I really struggled with, was like, I want to get better now. I don't want to wait 6 months, but you just have to sit in it, get into a healthy environment. And I've seen a couple of these celebrity people that have dealt with similar things. They go to like the most expensive treatments down in like Mexico and spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for these heroic treatments. And they'll feel good in like the short term, but it never fixes it permanently. So thankfully I figured out, I was like, all right, I need to like slow roll this and just add percentages for months on end. And eventually I'll get to a point where I am in the 95 to 100%, which where I'm at now.
Did you ever have any of those questions of like, why me, or like why am I having to go through all this? I think about like Job, and how he just had like the best faith of ever. Like he never questioned. He just like, I know there's a purpose. But we were talking about that last night at our ministry meeting about Job and like the things that you have to go through for a purpose to make you stronger for certain events in life. And I just wondered if you ever had any of those moments going through that where you're like,
oh yeah, I mean, I had a ton of questions of, because like I take a lot of pride in like my work ethic and my output. A big thing that is tied to my identity is like the work I produce. So I was like, I don't deserve this. Like I'm not a bad guy. Like I was trying my best, and like, why is this happening? And that's when I started leaning into those Bible verses of like, your present suffering is not going to compare to your future glory. Everything works out for the good. You don't know what I'm doing, but right now, but you will later. So I really hung on to those to give me some hope. And I think that's what people need to grasp when they go through these tough seasons, is find something that's going to give you that hope, because there will be a point where you understand. And once I started seeing like a couple things of like, oh, this is maybe why it's happening, I started just to snowball, and it started to become easier. But like when I had no answers. Every doctor was saying was good, but I felt horrible. I wasn't doing anything I liked. I was on light duty at work, and I felt lost. It was tough for me to not get super depressed and feel like, I was at a dead end. So yeah, I dealt with all those questions of why me, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
And like I'd read Job, and I'd read some of the Bible stories, and sometimes you just got to kind of sit in it and just like let the time pass, which is really hard for me to do even today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about that part where you touched on that you had so many things going on, and then when you were sick, you only cared about one thing, and that was your health.
Totally.
Because I talk to a lot of potential clients, or like we have calls and stuff, and they're like, it's just not a good time right now for me to worry about losing weight or my health. Yeah. I got so much stuff going on in life. Yeah. And I try and tell them, like, right now you have a bunch of things to worry about, but if your health hits and now you only have one problem, and that's the only thing you care about. Yeah. So how does somebody prioritize their health before it's too late,
Yeah, and I never experienced that, because health has always been something I always worked hard for it, but it's never been a problem for me.
Yeah.
And I always heard the saying, if something about like if you have your health problem, that's the only thing you care about, like you said. And it was hard, but it was also easy for me to like give up everything, because I was trying to get better. Go light duty at work, drop SRT, stop training, because it was all encompassing of, if your health is not there, your health is, you're with yourself every single day, right? So I think if you realize how important health is to benefit all other areas of your life, like it's kind of got to be the foundation. It's not something that you could focus on so much, like when I was getting obsessed with jiu-jitsu, but it's something that you have to have that foundation in order to reap all the other benefits. And sometimes it's a hard lesson you got to learn, and some people won't ever learn it. But like, I'm grateful for that time of struggle where my health was my main problem, because now I'll never take it for granted. I'll never, like, it's really easy for me to stay healthy now because I know if that's not there, everything else is going to go by the wayside. So to get that perspective without going through a tough season is tough. It's really tough.
You touched on the gratitude part of it too,
Yeah.
just being grateful. And I think that's such a huge part too of like everything you were going through, you still had gratitude going through that, because that's such a mindset shift. Like you could be getting down on yourself. You could be, you did hit the why me's, but then you switched it soon to going to the Bible and like knowing that you're going through is for a reason and grateful. And I mean, you're still waking up every day and you got your kids and stuff. So like,
I had to find those. Okay, what am I grateful for? Like even with my health being seemingly declining, me thinking I'm dying, going through all the tests, thinking like they're gonna tell me that I have cancer or something, and so all that super anxiety and stress was super tough. But I had to figure out like, okay, I still have a house, I still have a job, I still have a loving family, I still have my son who doesn't really care how I feel right now. He just wants me to play, with him in the living room. So finding those small things to be grateful for just kept my mind in the right direction and kept me grounded. That's another big takeaway was I'm just way more grounded. I feel like I could be more present. I have more peace just because like I've seen the other side of what a health struggle could be. And now that like I feel pretty good, it's just I just feel like I'm living on like a higher level, almost like a different vibration, which wouldn't have happened if I didn't face some type of struggle. So the bigger the struggle you face, there's going to be some awesome benefits if you get through it. And I think there's a direct correlation. Like really hard struggle, like really good joy is coming. You just gotta hold out. And that's the biggest takeaway I think for me is if you're going through a really tough season, like God's preparing you for something.
Yeah.
Something awesome, because he wouldn't be pushing you through this hard season if he didn't have some awesome plans for you in the future. And you're not going to know it unless you don't give up and almost just like let the time pass and just continue to trust in him.
Yeah, it's really hard for the people that don't even have faith, and then they're just going through this and they're thinking it's all on them and they have to figure it all out.
I don't understand how people do it. Like people that have gone through similar health issues or struggles or tough seasons, when you don't have that hope, like I don't know how people do it, because I hung on to that as tight as I could. If I didn't have that, like who knows if I would have made some rash decision or made a permanent decision when I was really down in the dumps. Like who knows? So I'm super thankful, and I feel like, and I've talked to people about this, like my whole life kind of like built me up to a certain point where I could handle this. And you talk about how God's never going to give you something that you can't handle. If I wasn't super healthy before, if I didn't have a strong foundation in faith, if I didn't have a supportive family, a supportive work, like a lot of things lined up for allow me to get through it and then see the other side and then reap the benefits. So if you are in a season where it's super tough, like know that you have the tools and you have the grit and you have the support system to get through it, because God's not going to give you something that is just going to crush you. Like it's going to feel like it, but you're going to get through it. So
I think also it gives you those things that you feel like you can't handle so that you'll lean on him.
Oh yeah, totally. He is close to the brokenhearted, man. He's I've never felt so close to God when I was at my lowest point. And that's another grateful thing to be if you are struggling. Like God's really close to you at that point, because all the noise is gone. So grateful for that time period. Something I reflect on often, and the perspective shifts has been pretty good.
I think some people have a hard time believing in God because, I mean, I know myself speaking for myself, and what I went through as a kid, I was like, there's no way there's a God because of all the things I've been through. How could this be a part of my plan? And later on in life, like 20 years later, now I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all these things that had to line up just perfectly to get me to where I'm at now. Of course there's a God, but like when you're in the depths of it and you don't have any faith, it is hard to believe. So what do you think in those moments for people that are going through these things and they have those doubts of there can't be a God because I'm going through all these. Like, what's your advice for that?
Yeah, if they question their faith when they're deep in the struggle,
Or any, like, they just don't have a faith because they're saying, like, how can there be a God if I'm being put through all this? People are like, hey man, just believe in God. Like, I can't believe in God because look at all this I'm going through. Why would there be a God that wants me to be uncomfortable? Which is a big myth too, is that they think once you're in a faith that life's just going to be easy.
It's the complete opposite. I feel like there's always, if there's good, there's going to be evil. If there's going to be, joy, there's going to be suffering. It's just kind of it is what it is. And you'll never know in the moment why things are happening. And I try not to question it because I'm just a, dumb human and I can't figure everything out. So like, the greater purpose is hard to see, and you may never see it. Some people will never understand why certain things happen, and until you're in front of the big man himself, like you never know. And you may, and it's hard to be okay with that. But I think it's pretty narrow-minded to be like, oh, I'm not going to believe because there's some bad things happening in the world. It's just how things are, unfortunately.
What's the biggest lesson that you learned through this whole thing that you want to pass on to your son?
Man, the biggest lesson. Well, I want him to know like how much of a vital part he was in keeping me grounded, because without him, of course I would have had my wife still, but like he gave me so much strength to not give up and continue to show up for work and continue to show up for him. And then even now, I wouldn't be training jiu-jitsu unless he started. Like he's such a big part in where I'm at physically, mentally, emotionally. So like I would just want him to know like he played a huge role in my recovery and me getting to the point where I am now. And then just to always have gratitude, appreciate the hard times, know that there's going to be joy in the future. And when you face those hard times, try to welcome them, and then know that there's things that are coming. And I think if you look at a hard situation and almost kind of get excited of, wow, this is really tough, something cool is going to be happening soon. So I think I'll when he goes through tough things, I'll remind him of the struggle that I had, and ultimately everything I got out of it. There's always purpose in the pain, always.
Was he old enough to understand that you were going through some stuff?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think he was like 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So not really. So so it was up to me to continue to show up, right?
Right.
To show up at work, to show up for my family, to show up for him. And even when I was at my worst of like, I felt awful, still show up for him and take him to the park and all that stuff. So it kept me on track. Like it kept me going. I was like, I can't just give up. It's way more than just me now. This whole thing is I have to provide a life for him, right? So
that's a cool lesson that you can pass off to him. Like even when I didn't feel like I wanted to do something, I still had to show up because it was bigger than just me.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool thing that he can see. Even you guys go into jiu-jitsu or anything, like the times where he doesn't want to go, you can be like, well, there's times that I didn't want to do things, but I still had to do it,
Oh, exactly.
Because that's the thing I always tell my clients is, I deal with like their health and they're losing weight so they can not pass on those generational curses to their kids. And it's like your kids are always watching you. They may fail to listen to you, but they're never going to fail to emulate you. So these habits and traits that they're portraying to your kids, like they're just going to pick up on it. So
yeah, they're going to pick up on it, whether you say it, whether you teach it to them, they're just going to see it.
Yeah.
So, couple things, couple notes that I put down. I didn't come back stronger because I pushed harder. I came back stronger because I learned when to surrender, what to prioritize, and how to fully show up even when the outcome was uncertain. We just talked about always showing up no matter what, no matter how you feel. So basically, the whole thing is surrender turning into refinement. I didn't heal by fighting harder. I healed by letting go of control, identity, timelines, and ego. and allowing my faith, patience, and intentional living to rebuild me into someone stronger, calmer, and more grounded than before. So it took a lot for me to let go of control and my identity and all that stuff, because that's something I had a death grip on. And until I fully let go and surrendered to the process and letting God handle it, that's when I started to heal. And with chronic illnesses, half the battle is mental, because your mind is such a powerful tool. So yeah, you're giving it all the supplements and nutrition to heal your body and antibiotics, all that stuff. But one thing I've noticed is a lot of people, they're still stuck because it's a mental thing. So that's another thing I had to really work on through this whole process of fighting those demons of anxiety, worry, stress, doubt. And then every time I added something back into my life, I was worried. I was worried it was going to get worse again. So I had to go through this whole mental battle of allowing it to settle and be patient with it and work on my mind just as hard as I was working on my body.
How big was prayer during this whole time for you?
It was big. I prayed a ton, and more than I probably have ever prayed. Before doctor visits, on times where I felt the worst, on times where I wanted to quit. It was like prayer turned into more like a check-in of like, all right, God, here we are. You know how I feel. Where do I go next? Show me, give me some light, And then typically it would be, a thought would pop into my head with Canaan, or, my body would change or something, and I'd feel a little bit better, or like I would see another doctor or something like that. So like I kept putting the pieces together, and it was almost like he was walking me through the whole thing. One giant lesson of patience and letting go of control and changing my identity because I had it wrapped up into all the wrong things initially. So now I try to keep it grounded and keep things in perspective and not have any false idols and and I still struggle with it today. Like I get crazy obsessed with things, and I just need to constantly remind myself that keep things in balance and keep my priorities lined up.
Have you ever had any opportunities to talk to like inmates when they come into the facilities of like faith? Like, hey, they're like going through a hard time. Like, hey, man, I don't know if you ever get a chance to talk to them. Like, maybe there's a reason why you're going through this or something. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
no, not, and that's the thing too. It's not like everybody wants to hear it. So,
sure.
But I didn't know that'd be like this is the first thing I thought of is people at their lowest, and
Sure.
A lot of people do change when they go into jail. Like if it's just for a weekend or something, like it's a wake up call that they need it, or
total wake up call for some.
Like their first DUI or something like that.
I
Some
think
people go back multiple times for DUIs, but like their first one, they're like, okay, I wait. But those hard moments in life are the ones that, unfortunately, it usually takes something hard or a health scare or something like that before someone's like reconsiders their life choices.
Yeah, I think I can't think of any specific moments, but I've definitely had a few conversations where, that moment could be a turning point. Like you can go two directions. And that's where I felt a lot of those questions when I was in the midst of it. I was like, well, I can either like give up and this can get internally worse, or I can try to find some gratitude, try to find some peace, try to find a way out of this, and just take that next step, take that next day, and not try to figure it all at once. And that's another thing I struggled with was I'm a big planner, so not having a step-by-step way back to full health was really bothered me. I just had to trust the process and not rush it. And instead of looking down the road 6 months, I just had to say, okay, what can I do this week to stack those wins and get a little bit better? And eventually you're going to get to a point where you're all the way back. So it definitely helped me with patience and being willing to just not know the answer at that point and being okay with stepping into the uncertain for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a scripture somewhere. I don't know exactly what it says or where it's at, but it was talking about like tomorrow is a waste of time to worry about because it's not guaranteed.
Right.
So like don't worry about the things that you can't control tomorrow, and
Yep.
like just the present moment is what you need to worry about. And I've really thought about that because a lot of people do like the New Year's resolution goals and things like that. And I'm like, why am I going to plan out this whole year? Because even if I were to tell you last January where I'd be right now, I would be completely off. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have no
for sure.
clue.
Oh, totally.
Everything's going to change. So only, like, now I just worry about, like, each day, like, you know, my discipline each day. I need to wake up on time, or, you know, like, little things. Like you said,
Yeah.
stacking those small wins is such
Right.
a huge thing. And especially like a mental shift. You start winning just, like, little things, and then pretty soon you've won the day.
Yeah.
You win enough days, you win the week. Enough weeks, you win the month. Enough months, you win the year, right?
Yeah.
So it's like just worrying about what you can't control. A lot of people just worry about what they can't control.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big politics guy because I can't control it, you know?
Right.
I can control a lot more in my own household.
Right.
It'll affect my life personally than to worry about what's happening in another state or country. It's like, come on, guys, just worry about what you can control.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm all for with like having like a long-term plan, but I've gotten more into the, okay, what adjustment can I make today or tomorrow to move me closer to where I want to go?
Yeah, I like that.
And going back to a little bit of jiu-jitsu, like now it's more of adjustments I can make each training session rather than like trying to get really good right now or plan my whole year out. It's what have I learned from this session and what can I do better next time? And then that's all I'll look at. And then just constantly stacking those together more and more, you know, like stack the days, stack the weeks, stack the months, stack the years. And I like small adjustments that are sustainable. If they're not sustainable, I probably shouldn't be doing them. And that's with nutrition and working out and all that stuff. If it's some drastic change where you can't sustain it long term, that's probably not the best. So something that you can do for the long term is going to be way more beneficial than like a 2-week blitz and give up.
How beneficial has fitness been in your whole life just for your mindset?
It's been huge. Stress reliever, something, goals to chase after, to have like a little carrot in front of me that I'm always working towards, something difficult, you know, something hard during your day. Definitely something that continues to ground me, you know, challenge me. If I don't have something that I'm working on getting better at, I kind of feel like I've lost. I know there's that saying of like something about a wolf, that not having something to hunt is kind of like lost. They need something to chase, and there's always got to be something I'm chasing. That's probably why jiu-jitsu has been such a something I've been interested into, because it's there's no ceiling. It's infinity. You can get better for the rest of your life, and it's a difficult puzzle to solve. So it challenged me mentally and physically. So something I hope I'd pass on to Kanan of have something physical in your life. And there was a point where when I thought I was done with jiu-jitsu, I was really, really enjoying the outdoors and hiking and getting out there and doing something hard, but also enjoying nature. Like that was something that helped a lot too. I actually have the sawtooth tattooed on my arm because a big hike I went to during that time period was up to the sawtooth. So just find something that challenges you and keeps you from, you know, drifting away and getting lazy. So staying motivated, and physical fitness has been huge.
It's been easy for me to find God when I'm hiking.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, how could you not find God when you're hiking?
Well, my wife, she always jokes about, don't you dare get into hunting because I know you'll get crazy obsessed with it. She's probably right. So
I know a guy.
Yeah. I know I'd love it. So maybe
wait till you find out about golf. That'll never.
Yeah.
You never get tired of that. My dad, 85, and he's still golfing.
My dad recently retired, and he is now a member at a golf resort club thing, and he does it like every day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. I think just staying active in general is good for your mindset, whether it's hiking, hunting, golfing, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to do, going to the gym. I think for anybody, they could go to the gym, though. Just get your body moving.
Yeah.
Like, we're obviously both fitness guys. I wasn't always a fitness guy. I was overweight, and I can definitely say that my mindset and mentality has completely shifted since going to the gym. Like, and I'm not a gym bro. I'm not like a muscles guy. Like, I just know for me, my mental health has got so much better since I've gone to the gym. And then it got even better when I started going to church.
How old's your son?
5.
When did you turn 6?
June.
Okay, my son turns 6 in February.
Yeah, thought about putting him in. I don't think he'd stay focused at all in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 5 or 6 is pretty young to start.
Yeah.
The only reason I started him when he was 3 or 4 in wrestling was, 1, the coach invited us, and he had a son that was the same age. And 2, I was on the bats with him, like guiding him because he's couldn't stay focused. But I was like, if I had to like wrangle him in, I definitely could. So
I wrestle with him all the time just to like try and get some energy out of him.
Yeah.
And I'll make him like fight his way out. I'll let him win, but I'll make him work for it, you know, just to get some energy out before bed, and then he'll crash.
Nice.
But we've been talking about going and taking our kids to jiu-jitsu, our girls, because I feel like they need more toughness or like I don't know. I'm a big fan of them having a hard life without like having traumatic life, but I don't want them to be too easy, you know.
I tell you what, the little girls in Kanan's class, they're savages, dude. They get after it and they beat up the little boys. It's awesome. So I think it's a tremendous life skill, something that I don't know how far Kanan's gonna push it, but like it'll always be something he could do with dad in the summer or whatever sport he's not playing. And it's definitely our thing, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then now I just take him to open mats on Saturdays because I give my wife a break in the morning. So
yeah, I remember Jocko was talking on one of his podcasts that he wished he wouldn't have forced his kids as much as he did.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to take that consideration, but I still want to get them into it. Like at least go try it, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel like they need something, especially my oldest daughter. She's a little soft. She's like cries a lot, and so I think she just needs some.
You never know.
Toughness. Like the first couple times, maybe she'll not like it, and then keep going. I'll make her go for at least like a good 2 months, and then we'll evaluate. But I want to make sure. My second daughter, she'd be all for it. She's always trying to wrestle, so I think she'd love it. She's 10. She'll be turning 10 this month or next month, so it'd be perfect for her. But it's like I think it's really good for any kind of discipline for your kids. Yeah, like just to be disciplined in a sport, not to be getting disciplined, but you know,
right?
Like,
yeah, it teaches perseverance, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, working through problems. You know, one thing I wanted to touch on was a big thing that before this, I always felt like I was driven and disciplined and focused, but having no other choice but to show up, even when I was feeling my absolute worst. Now that I don't feel my absolute worst, like it's so easy for me to show up now. Like I don't feel great. Doesn't matter. I'm going anyway. So throughout the whole process, like I showed up when I couldn't perform. I showed up for my family when I had nothing left. I showed up for my marriage, and I kept doing the work when I didn't feel like it. And then I showed up to the mats, not as my old self, but a more present one. So I stopped measuring my life by my output, but I started measuring it by my presence. And I still struggle with being present because I'm always like planning for the future and thinking about the next day. But like showing up and being present, it was a lot easier when I didn't have anything else. There was no noise. And then showing up despite how I felt. I mean, that was for a couple of years. Like I didn't feel good. So, but I had no other choice. Like I had to keep showing up. And once that's ingrained, like, you know, how many days it takes to form a habit. But once I got over the hurdle of, yep, I feel absolutely horrible, but I'm going to show up anyway and somehow get through the day.
Where'd that come from? Was that something you were growing up with from your dad, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had it before, which thankfully I had some of it before, but it refined it and strengthened it like no other. And now I have this weird, relentless drive of how efficient can I be, and how much better can I be in all these little areas. So I thought I was dedicated before, but now it's like not even an option, just because I've felt what it feels like to show up when you don't want to, and it takes repetition, and it's hard for someone that isn't forced to do it and still does it. It's really hard, but I had no other choice. Like I had to show up for work. I had to show up for my family. I couldn't just give up. So it was almost forced upon me. And that was a huge benefit. Now I feel like it's automatic. So
yeah, that's a big life skill. If you can pass that down to your kids, just being consistent and showing up.
Yeah.
So even if you're not giving it 100%, but you're still showing up and giving it 20%, and doing that consistently, it's way better than only showing up when you feel 100%. Like mathematically speaking, you can add it up. Like it's going to be if you only show up once every couple of weeks when you feel 100%, like
Yeah.
I say this all the time on my reels and on my stories for my fitness side, is like, there's 3 out of 5 days a week I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But I got to go to the gym because I know if I don't, I'm going to end up taking stress out on my kids and my wife or whatever, and it's not fair to them. And, like, I need to keep my body in a certain shape because I still need to be able to show up. And if I let that slip, it's going to let my mindset shift. Like, everything goes downhill.
Yeah.
You can't expect your body that's attached to your mind to not slip if you let one or the other slip.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure. And I'm thankful for it. Like I said before, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but I wouldn't take it back for anything. There's so much stuff I've gained from it, and I'll continue to gain from it, from that whole experience. And it's made me a better person. It's definitely changed me 100%. And I'm glad that I can look back on it now and kind of pull all the things that, and even today, like, or even being this far removed, I find things, I'm like, oh, I definitely learned that during that time. Now I can appreciate it. During the time, I was like, this is crazy. I'm not sure why this is happening, but now I understand.
How do you feel like all this that you've gone through is going to affect you later on in life, now that you have like a newfound appreciation for just the little things?
Just more joy, more gratitude. I think I have a renowned dedication to health in general. And I thought I was focused on health before, but now I don't take a day for granted. I don't take a day on the mats for granted. I just don't get, things don't stress me out as much. I think long term, and my doctor in Seattle said this, is like, you're going to be so in tune with your body now that you're probably going to live a much more healthy life in the future, just because you gone through a period where you were checking in all the time, and now you're not going to let your health slip because you know what it feels like. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to benefit me in the long term, and something I will be grateful for.
What's a supplement that you think everybody should take that you've learned about during this whole time? I mean, I know there's some supplements that are specifically for what you had, but like, did you start taking any vitamins or anything that you could really tell a difference, and you just continued to take after that?
I think vitamin D is really important, just because we get winters here. I'm a big fan of fish oil, creatine. Those are the big ones. But I'm trying to take less supplements because there's so many that you can take.
Yeah.
But as far as like immediate impact, probably not a specific supplement, but hydration's huge. I try to drink a lot of water. Sleep is huge, and then monitoring your stress levels. Like, I think I physically feel worse when I'm starting to get stressed out about things, or my sleep's starting to go, or I'm a little bit lazy on my nutrition. Like, now I rarely ever drink, just because it's like a major trigger with inflammation in my body, like way more than before. So it's just like we talked about, stacking the small wins. There's not anything that's going to make some giant difference in your life, but if you sleep a little bit longer, you drink a little bit more water, and you eat a little bit less processed food, you're probably going to feel better. Don't try to do it all at once. Make these small changes that you can sustain, and do it for a long period. And eventually they're going to stack. I look at it as like all these little percentages that I can throw into a bucket. And if they all start adding up together, it's going to be a big difference. But it's not only going to be one thing. A good example is I'm a big fan of like hydrogen water, where I was taking the pills, where it was like you drop a pill in a water and it would kind of hydrogenate it and drink it. And I was like, oh, this makes my sleep a little bit better. Then I bought one of those hydrogen water bottles for like $50 on Amazon, and I was like, yeah, this makes me feel a little better. Now I have like the best one you can buy. It's called Echo water bottle, and I drink 3 or 4 of those throughout the day, and I do feel a little bit difference in energy and inflammation and sleep. But it's not an end all be all. Like, if I was only doing that, it wouldn't work. But if I have good nutrition, good sleep, and then just tinkering with in tune of, well, I feel pretty good, well, why? Or I feel worse, why? And then making small changes over a long period of time, I think is the biggest difference I've noticed.
I think that thing you hit on too of like the all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like everybody trying to. That's a lot of issues with the New Year, New Me. Is they
Sure.
like no sugars, no eating out, no fast food,
Yeah.
no sodas. They're like
It's too much.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course you're gonna fail. Like
Yeah. And I always fall into this of more is better. With like even jiu-jitsu, like I'm training 3 times a week. Well, if I trained 5, I'd be way better. Well, not necessarily. You're
Right.
gonna get hurt or you're gonna get burnt out. So like there's a sweet spot. And I think that's where it forced me to find a sweet spot in my health where I'm gonna stay here and then just let it ride for weeks on end and feel that upward trajectory of my health. And I wouldn't notice it for months, but then like I said, those reoccurring holidays where I'd almost like have like a flashback of, oh, I remember last Halloween I was like cutting my pumpkin and my arm was all numb and my neck hurt and now it feels pretty good. Or I remember last Christmas I'd wake up and I was dreading getting up for the day because the only time I wasn't in pain was when I wasn't sleeping. But now I'm like happy to be here. So like it was like these flashbacks of you don't feel the progress in the immediate short term, but you will eventually when you look back 6 months, a year. So I wouldn't get discouraged if you don't feel progress right now. You're not going to see it right now, but you're going to see it in a few months if you stay consistent, which is hard to wrap your brain around. You're like, I want to see it today.
yeah,
Like, I want to work out and feel like way better, or I want to lose all this weight. That's a long process. I think
Yeah.
anything worth going after, anything worthy of it, is going to take a lot of time, a lot of patience.
I like the toilet paper roll analogy of like if you take 1 sheet off, you're not gonna see a difference.
Yeah.
Take 2, 10, you're not gonna see much of a difference. You take like 30,
Yeah.
100 sheets off, it's gonna get a lot smaller. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what your progress is gonna look like. You
Yeah.
just gotta keep being consistent.
And then if you fall off, like realize that you're not going to start where you were before, and don't get discouraged. And that was one thing I did work through a lot of mental issues was when I left jiu-jitsu after my shoulder surgery and got sick, like I was a year into my purple belt. Like I felt like I was pretty good. Like I was starting to do well with a lot of people and handle my own. I was respected in the community. And then like 2.5 years go by and I'm trying to get back on the mats and like my body's not in tune with it. My tendons aren't strong like they were before. It was like a huge ego check, and it was such a humbling experience to get back and work my way back into something. So if you fall off the wagon of either health, your physical activity, or your sport you're doing, or just getting healthy in general, like that first initial month or two is going to be really tough, just because you're gonna in your mind you're gonna be at where you used to be, but you've got to regain that ground. But that's when you go back to the gratitude part of just being appreciative of being there and like taking it as slow, probably slower than you think you need to take it. Because if I was to rush it back, like those first few attempts, it doesn't work. But the slower I was, the more patient I was. And the more like forget about my ego. Like, yeah, it's who cares if I'm a purple belt and I haven't trained for 2.5 years. I'm basically like new again. You will eventually get up to your old self, and then you'll have all this experience, and then you'll blow past, and you're going to be so much smarter from it. So if you do make the mistake or fall off the path, like they say, once you get back on, you're going to be smarter. You're going to be more efficient. You're going to have a more appreciative where you are. So ultimately it'll get you farther faster. You just have to grind through those first couple months of being back. So
did it take you a little bit to get your technique and everything back?
Yeah, so it was probably 3 months of, probably 2 months of just reacclimating to jiu-jitsu, because it's a different type of callus on your body, kind of different type of stressor, and you can't mimic it. Like you can lift weights all you want, all that stuff, but like a physical activity where you're doing something that attacks your joints and is very aggressive, like you just have to be in it. And there was plenty of times where I have to pull back and like take a couple extra days off, and then the timing and the technique came back pretty fast because it's kind of ingrained with you. My body wasn't ready for it, so it took 2 or 3 months to kind of get back in my groove, and then another 2 or 3 months to kind of get to where I thought I was before. And then now I'm training so much more efficient that I feel like I'm making faster progress than I was before, just because I have a better training perspective. So it was about 6 months. And you always talk about, or you hear people that leave and then struggle to come back. And that's because once you get into that momentum, of being on the mats and working out in general, that momentum, once you stop it, it's hard to start again and rebuild that momentum. But once you have the momentum, that's what showing up on days where you feel like it's 25%. It's way better than not showing up, because if you don't show up, your momentum starts to stop. But if you show up and just do what you can, eventually you're going to have some good days again. So the momentum is huge, whether it be in jiu-jitsu or working out or nutrition. And I'm sure you felt this too, is like you start stacking those days together of good days, and it's easier to eat better. And once you kind of get off track, and it's like, oh, I've got to restart and get back the momentum. So it's a good lesson for sure.
Especially even when you go back to like your old ways. Like for me, when I was fat, I've had like some family reunions where they aren't eating as healthy as I would eat, and I go and eat their food, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Your body like rejects it.
Yeah.
But then like it's crazy how quickly like it'll be like, well, we're rejecting it, but like give me some more.
It'll adapt.
Yeah.
To whatever you give it.
It'll adapt to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I kept having to tell myself was I adapted to getting back to work full duty. I adapted to getting back on the special response team. I adapted to getting back to lifting weights. Because there was a time where I was so afraid to lift that I'd go into the gym and I'd do like a few push-ups and some sit-ups and I'd be done. Because I had to start at such a low level, and then I had to let my body adapt, and then I had to work out, and then I let my body adapt. And I was like, I did that all the way back to lifting again. I know I can do that with jiu-jitsu. And now I'm not death gripping anymore. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, and plus I had my son there as motivation.
Yeah.
So I kept telling myself my body's going to adapt to it again, and eventually did. It always takes longer than you want.
What's your best advice for someone that's currently going through their own storm?
Yeah, find a community. Find a support system. I would highly encourage leaning into some faith. That's something that kept me from, staying on the straight and narrow. I was lucky enough to have friends and family that stood by me, but don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to seek help. Focus on the what is, not the what ifs, because worrying about tomorrow's not going to help you at all. The anxiety and stress is actually going to make you worse. Use time as a tool. Don't think it's the enemy. Increase your gratitude and have your faith anchor everything. So you're going to have to lower your ego. You're going to have to, have a little bit of a gut check, but don't try to do it on your own. And then be as patient as you can. Know that there's a greater purpose. Lean into some Bible verses, commit them to heart, and then find gratitude in the small things. So it's about not overthinking it and not trying to figure everything at once and not over stressing and having anxiety, I think, is the biggest thing if you're going through a tough season. And then the biggest thing is, I think, finding gratitude in what you do have. Like, you're still alive. You're still, you have the opportunity to get better. And once you start to almost not trick yourself, but keep thinking that this is a really tough season, but it's going to be strengthening me for something really cool in the future. So having a long-term perspective, but also being okay with being present and then seeking help and leaning on other people.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think pushing out your goal deadlines.
Sure.
Rather than like for me in my business, I'm like, I don't want to be a millionaire this year. Give me 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not expecting it to happen overnight, or
right.
I'm not expecting to get a 6-pack in 1 month.
Right.
Like, delay those and just work on whatever you can for the day.
Yeah.
I have a buddy too that's going through a divorce, and he's like really down. I'm like, dude, you just got to be grateful.
Yeah.
He's like, what do I have to be grateful for? My wife's leaving me. I have nothing. I'm kicked out of my house.
Sure.
And I'm like, is your kids alive? Is your car running to go to work today?
Yeah.
Do you have heat? Like, are
Right.
you in a hospital bed?
Right.
Like, it really is these little things you have to just honestly be grateful for.
I think it rewires your brain too.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing is my brain is so rewired now to find gratitude in things and be more on the positive side of things, because there was a point where I was so negative, where I had to kind of like retrain. I got a little bit into neuroplasticity, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically rewiring your nervous system to not take everything as a threat, to not have all this anxiety and stress, but to more be on more joyful and more positive in anything. So like I'll look at a situation and I'll kind of find some positives out of it, and a couple of my friends will like point out the negatives. Like, I didn't even see that. Like, and then I think it's because I was in the dumps for so long that I had to build myself back up to have that perspective of joy, gratitude, peace, presence. And that's a whole reason why I feel like I'm a different person now than I was before the whole season.
It's like one of my favorite videos from Jocko where he talks about good.
Yeah, totally, man.
Like, that video just gets me every time I need to bring it back to normal.
Yeah.
It's like you're going through something that's bad. You didn't get the promotion. You didn't get that new gear. Good. Like, it gives you more time to get better. It gives you, like, whenever there's something that's bad that's happening, there's good to come from it.
And that's really tough for a lot of people to wrap their heads around when something's super bad. And you're not, like I said, you're not going to know until afterwards. And you're not going to ever know if you quit. And you may not ever know, but there's someone that's benefiting, or something that's benefiting, or you're going to change, or your heart's going to be molded, your priorities are going to shift. And that's a perspective that I try to hold anytime will face more difficult seasons in my life, for sure.
Well, we're going to have more of these 4-man podcasts, and I'd put a poll up, and people want to do more Christianity posts.
Oh, cool.
or group stuff. So I want to have you back on.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. Like I said, I'm by no means the perfect Christian, but I feel
That's
like
what makes you perfect.
Yeah, I have a deep root in my faith, and I went through a tough season in my life, and I feel like I learned a lot from it. So I'd love to be on, for sure.
Well, that's just it. Is like the tough things that you go through is what qualifies you to be able to help other people.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, an alcoholic that beat alcoholism is going to be able to help an alcoholic versus like a pastor that's never touched alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, it's those things that we've gone through, or your health has put you down, and now somebody else is going through their health, and like, why there can't be a God? How am I going through this? It's like, no, man.
And I've definitely enjoyed opportunities to chat with people who are going through like an injury or some a tough health season, or something they're trying to figure out. I've enjoyed talking to them about my experience, what I leaned on, what I thought about, and just letting them know, like, seems to be, not a good future right now, but like, trust me, something's coming. Just kind of like grit your teeth and drive through it. So I hope to have more opportunities, for sure. I think anytime I see someone struggling, I try to, touch base with them and share a little bit of what I went through. And if I can help one person get through a tough season, then the whole thing for me would be worth it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the best spot for people to follow you at?
So I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram is just my name, Kameron_Ross. It's mostly family stuff. A lot of things with my kiddo and wife. I used to have a jiu-jitsu page, but I think I'm going to steer clear of that. I'm thinking jiu-jitsu is just something I do right now rather than who I am, for sure. So hit me up anytime. I'm always willing to talk jiu-jitsu, strength training, faith, struggle, seasons. So I'd be happy to share more of my story. I've even had a few people that I've reached out that heard that I went through a Lyme disease thing, and they said, "Hey, I've got a friend that's struggling too. Can I give them your number?" And I've directed a few people to the doctors that I've tried, or some treatments that I've done. So happy to help.
That's awesome. I'll definitely put a link, and then they're going to see more of you, dude. We're going to do more of these Christian podcasts.
I'm excited. That'd be fun.
One of the big things that we're talking about in our ministry group at Rock Harbor on Tuesday mornings is, like, what's a Christian man look like? That's been our thing this year so far. Reading Stand Firm and Act Like Men. That's been a really good book for us.
Okay.
So,
yeah, there's a good movement of strong, fierce, Christian men these days, and it's definitely needed. I think the whole, being a lion and lamb is something that's, you want to be a strong Christian man with values, and you want to be, capable of violence, but, peaceful and all that stuff. So
that's one of my favorite lines. This is Jordan Peterson, I think, said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, sometimes people are a little bit drawn away from Christianity because they think that the men, in it are, soft or whatever, but some of the strongest and most fierce and, savagery men I know are strong Christians. So
Yeah.
I think there's a movement going on, man. A lot of people are turning for sure.
Right on, dude. Well, thanks for coming on, man,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely do this again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.